Let's talk about North Korea, the hermit kingdom, a place of intrigue. Through its existence, this country has been the greatest thorn in the efforts to prohibit nuclear weapons. It is infamous for being a troublemaker. It has caused anger and frustration, especially this year. Why? Because this year, North Korea launched over 40 ballistic missiles from more than 20 different testing locations. 11 months, 20 locations, 40 missiles. And this is a new record in itself. We have not seen such belligerence in the past. We have not seen so many missile tests in the past. The question is, what explains this? And how did North Korea even manage to conduct so many tests? And I say that because North Korea is one of the poorest countries in the world. Just look at the statistics. Almost 60% of North Korea's population lives in poverty. More than 40% of North Koreans are undernourished. The country's GDP stands at $30 billion. That's just 2.2% of its neighbor, South Korea's GDP. In terms of GDP per capita, it ranks 197th in the world, with the average North Korean earning just $1,800 annually. So my question is, how does a country which is struggling to make ends meet manage to launch ballistic missiles left, right and center? Where does it get the money from? Who or what funds North Korea's missile program? Let's try and find these answers. You are watching Gravitas Plus with me, Gambhir. On the 5th of January this year, North Korea test-fired a hypersonic missile, the first major weapons test by the country in 2022. On the 10th of January came the second test. Pyongyang test-fired another ballistic missile and promised successive tests in the future. What followed was a spate of missile tests. January 25th, 2 long-range cruise missiles were launched. January 30th, Hwasong-12 IRBM was launched. 27th of February, a ballistic missile was launched towards the East Sea. March 5th, Hwasong-17 ICBM system was test-fired. 24th of March, the first successful ICBM test was conducted. And it did not end there. April, May, June, August, September, October, November. Almost every month this year saw Pyongyang sending a new missile up in the air. Now, 2 questions emerge here. Why did it conduct so many tests? And how did it manage to pull them off? I'll keep the first one brief. Why is North Korea on a missile testing spree? An easy answer is because it can and it wants to. A more nuanced answer is FOMO, fear of missing out. For 2 long years, North Korea kept quiet, mainly due to the pandemic and the political considerations. 2 years on, they are eager to make sure their toys are still working, especially now during a period of heightened global conflict. Pyongyang wants to remind the world that it should not be ignored, that its nuclear program is still alive and kicking. You can call it an attention-seeking tactic. The West is distracted with the war in Ukraine. Pyongyang does not want to feel left out. It wants to keep the pressure on the US and allies and extract diplomatic concessions in return. Now to the second question. Where is it getting the money from? There are a host of sources. The most fascinating one is this: stolen cryptocurrency. According to a UN report, North Korea is using stolen crypto to fund its dangerous missile program. I have some numbers for you. Investigators say that between 2020 and mid-2021, North Korean cyber attackers stole more than $50 million worth of digital assets. And that's just one estimate. Another report saying that in 2021, North Korean cyber attackers could have netted $400 million worth of digital assets. Yet another estimate saying that in the month of March this year, North Korea allegedly hacked an online game and stole $620 million worth of crypto. $620 million. And in 2019, a UN report claimed that Pyongyang accumulated an estimated $2 billion through sophisticated cyber attacks. The numbers are striking. The question is, how does North Korea pull this off? How adequate is its cyber operations division? In one word, quite. North Korea has aced cybercrime. In fact, it has dedicated universities for it, like the Mirim College or the University of Automation. Close to 100 high-performing hackers graduate from here every year. What are they taught? Dissecting Microsoft Windows operating systems, creating destructive computer viruses, and coding in various languages. These hackers are then recruited into the military and trained to manage tactical planning systems. These hackers are, in a sense, a strategic weapon. They are deployed every time Pyongyang faces a cash crunch. Their competence can be gauged from this story: the infamous 2017 WannaCry ransomware attack. It compromised over 300,000 computers in 150 countries. How exactly? By targeting the vulnerabilities in the Microsoft Windows operating system. And who was behind this attack? All evidence indicated the hand of North Korea's hacking army. In fact, this army has its own base. It is called Bureau 121, a base of North Korea's most talented computer experts. It works in cohesion with the General Bureau of Reconnaissance, which is North Korea's elite spy agency run by the military. They wage what authorities call the secret war, only that its existence is no secret. So is cybercrime the only tool that funds North Korea's nukes? Not really. There are a host of other sources, like its neighbor China. China is North Korea's biggest trade partner. It accounts for around 3/4 of overall trade. It is also a major investor in mining operations, vis-a-vis steel, iron, coal, copper, and rare earth minerals. North Korea sells them all to Beijing, and in return, it gets the much-needed revenue for missiles. Source number 3, weapons sales. You see, the North Korean economy is basically being run by its arms deals. It sells weapons at black markets across Asia and Africa. For instance, last summer, Egypt intercepted a ship from North Korea, which was carrying around 30,000 PG-7 rocket-propelled grenades. On board were also a host of other weapon parts. One can only imagine the money their sale is bringing. Source number 4, drugs. North Korea has a large illicit drug industry. These drugs are smuggled all over the world. They are a significant source of hard currency. Source number 5, overseas slave labor. According to the most recent estimates, North Korea has over 2.6 million modern slaves. That's 1 in every 10 people. These so-called slaves are sent abroad as laborers. And where exactly? The US State Department says to as many as 60 countries. But 80% of these laborers go to Russia and China. And how much money do they generate for the country? According to the diplomat, anywhere between $150 million to $230 million per year. That's a huge figure and an assured source of hard currency. Overall, slave labor accounts for 7 to 8% of North Korea's total exports. Are you appalled? Well, don't be. We are talking about a country that has the most bizarre laws in the world. A country that essentially makes a living out of provocation, using slaves, drugs, and hackers to fund its nuclear program is just one part of the story.